Hello everyone, and welcome back to Civilization 5. So the last video, the first video in the series, was quite well received, early game tips. So today we're going to look at founding a second city, which is something that a lot of people can find quite difficult. They don't know when to do it or where to do it. So I'm going to discuss a few things and then we're going to have a go at founding one ourselves. In the background I'll just be mulling around, building on the tips that I gave in the last video. So if you haven't seen that one, you should probably go back and check it out, unless you're just here for second city tips, in which case let us begin. So for starters, you're going to want to scout out the area like we did last time, and you're going to want to look for a couple of things. Firstly, you're going to want to look for a coastline. So if you haven't already based your city, your first one, along a coastline, you're probably going to want a coastline because it gives you connections via trade with other civilizations through cargo ships. And also it gives you the ability to, for example, build warships and send them out and attack other civilizations. But first and foremost, you're going to need to produce a settler, so you can just go, we'll just move our dude out here and sleep him, one that I've handily prepared earlier. But you just go into your city, you choose your production, and you choose settler up the top there, and it'll create a wee unit. But coastline we've discussed. Secondly, resources. So after you've scouted out the area, you can see which resources are around the place by turning on the resource icons. Is quite helpful there. So you're going to want resources that you don't already have, because having a duplicate of a resource doesn't necessarily, or doesn't at all, give you extra happiness. It just lets you trade it, but really you want to get as many resources as you can. So over here, near these resources, might be a good spot. You're also going to want to look at natural yield, so yield icons, right? So we want an area that's perhaps more fertile, you know, along a river, for example. Or an area that gives gold or production. You know, these horses give 3 production, so they could be a good spot to settle. Gems give 3 gold, so we might want those. Down here we have Old Faithful, which is a natural wonder, which gives 2 science, which could be really strong for us, right? So we're going to want to explore and expand and try and hunt out those things. Because they really will prove worthy in the long run, especially. You know, it's the kind of thing that just in the long run can just be so strong. Another factor that you might want to consider is the threat of enemies. Not so much barbarian encampments like that one that we've just discovered up the top of our screen necessarily, but just other AI players and also city-states. You know, where are they going to expand? And what kind of threats could they pose? So down here we have Venice and Jakarta. They might be looking to expand up into this area, and so if I send a settler down here and settle here, which would be a good spot, you know, cattle, sugar, bananas, it's a really good spot there, they're going to get really pissed off and they might attack me as a result, so I'll want to refrain from doing that. And lastly, and a factor which will also play its role, will be distance. So if I were to run all the way down here, it would be a long way away from Moscow, my capital city, and I'd therefore perhaps not be able to get resources there as quickly, build roads there. It would take just such a long time to build a road and connect the cities. So, you know, that's really something that you want to sort of heed and take into account before you go settling any old where. So I have 2 choices here, basically. I can come down here, settle another coastal city or an inland city. I could grab the natural wonder, which is just there, if rigor doesn't expand to it. But I will get sheep, I'll get silver, and I'll also get iron, which is... It's actually within Moscow's reach, but only just. And then over here, however, I have another potential really strong gain. There's iron, horses, salt, wheat, coastline, and if we have a look at the yield, you know, there's some reasonably fertile stuff here. Of course, once it gets to desert, it's not fertile, so we'll want to stay away from that. Once it gets up there to tundra, it's not either, so we want to sort of settle a city in the middle here. Maybe up on that hill on the coast, or in a bit. It doesn't really matter too much. So I'm going to start sending my settler out. Now, how do I choose? Well, in this case, I think I'm going to choose the one up there. Because rigor is going to expand and grab that natural wonder, and then all that will be left for me basically is the silver and the sheep, because Moscow will get that iron eventually. Up here I can get horses, I can connect wheat and salt, which is a great resource because it gives 4 happiness, 1 food and 1 gold. So I'm absolutely going to want to expand out that way. So let us cancel that auto movement. Do not go all the way over there, you crazy worker. And start expanding out that way. So I would highly suggest you send a military unit, then send your settler, right? You want to protect your settler at all costs. So we're protecting him on this front, and we're protecting him heading straight away. Because if a barbarian or an enemy moves over your settler, they will kidnap it instantly and make it their own, which is absolutely not what you want after spending goodness knows how many turns producing it. So we're going to march him over slowly but surely. Also, now that we've done a few improvements over here, we can move our worker over and get him ready to start improving the second city. It is worth noting I skipped about 15 turns in between the last video and this one, just in case you are actually watching the whole series through. Then that should help you get a wee bit less confused, hopefully. In terms of when to settle your city, before turn 50, absolutely before turn 50. I would recommend somewhere between 25 and 40 normally, depending on the civilization you're playing. Wow! Venice has taken Kiev. Oh my word! A merchant of Venice has convinced Kiev. Oh my goodness. That is a really rapid, expansive threat. We need to heed that. So now it comes to the actual positioning of the tile and where to settle the city. You will gain the yield underneath your city. That also goes for settling it on top of a resource. If I settle my city on top of that salt, I will gain this yield of the salt, but you won't be able to improve it. So for that reason, you should not settle on resources that you want to improve. So I won't settle on any resources in this case. I'm going to pop up onto this mountain, onto this hill I should say, and settle my city up on a hill, above all else, to give me a beautiful view. That is of course not true, do not heed that advice. Alright, so here it goes. Just like with our first one, we just click it, found city, boom, St. Petersburg, done. Now that I've brought my worker over here already, I can instantly start improving tiles and instantly improve the quality of the city. I'm going to build a granary, which will give us excess food. And then it looks like we've basically got it all sorted, all fleshed out and done. Bing, bam, boom, bosh. Finished. Beautiful. So, to recap, what were the important points that we discussed? Firstly, and perhaps most importantly, resources. You want to find new resources in your boundaries. Secondly, coastline. If you didn't already have it, you might want to get it. In this case, I've got it in both of my cities, which I think is fine. Not too much of a threat there. I can build ships in both of them, which is great. Thirdly, natural yield. So by turning on the yield icons, we can see what kind of food and production and potentially gold or science our city tiles will give us. Fourthly, we looked at enemy threat. So where is the enemy? Am I positioning myself in a vulnerable space like down here? Or am I positioning myself roughly within sort of my own comfortable bubble like I have done up here? And lastly, and tying into that, distance. Am I near enough that I can send resources, that I can build a caravan and trade with the city? You know, is that something that I've done? Or am I too far away, too weak? Well, in this case, I think I've ticked all 5 boxes. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and also how you're implementing your own strategies. And if there's anything I've missed, please do let me know, because I love the feedback. Other than that, thank you very much for watching this second installment in Civilization Tips, how to found your second city, and I'll see you next time.